Okay, second time making this video. Kind of, I don't know, trying to stay as anonymous as I can, but and not for any like reasons that people might think, but I guess the first little bit of this video will be like basically like the Nofap vlog section. I know I've lost a couple of subscribers, probably because I didn't follow through and make my Nofap vlogs. It's technically speaking day 17. I haven't been posting for the last like couple of days. Not because I relapsed or anything, but just been busy with other stuff with the Python bootcamp. I passed the halfway mark, and I'm knocking down as many as I can each day, trying to get that thing done as fast as I can, so I can move on to the other stuff. And I did put in the application, all of the information I needed for the job position at the old company. From what I was hearing, they're planning on having me start, mid next month, like June 14th or so. But did that, and I had sort of a long drawn out. Well, I was kind of building off the stuff that made me or caused me to make that last video talking about being apolitical and all that. Sort of a continuation of that, because I was like communicating with my dad about the issue, and it got kind of heated at points. I tried not to sort of fall into what I've often done in the past, where I just get really, really frustrated or angry when I feel like there's some important issue or important point that has to be made, or something that needs to be accepted for safety's sake or what have you, and maybe the other person is just wanting to look at it as if it's like an argument about like based off of somebody being offended, or that it's such a trivial issue or whatever. But the whole process, like, and I explained them things to my dad about it, but for one thing, like, and I know I touched on this in the past, like a while back. I think last time I made a video about politics, touching on things tangentially, but the whole idea that as much as most people will, and it's not just politics. I mean, I'm using politics as the example because it's the most recent issue where this sort of idea has become or this fact has become more apparent. But with and by the way, I'm not saying that I've never had this kind of flaws or mistakes myself, but I'm aware of this stuff, and I've worked to change on this. But most people, when they complain about something or they're talking about something they don't like in their own life or in the world in general, it could have to do with politics or religion or economics or whatever. They'll complain, but they don't really care enough to actually do anything to figure out what is the legal, effective, sane, logical, rational way of going about solving some problem. Like, there could be some huge crisis going on, and they're not going to like try and figure out how exactly to go and solve it. They're just going to complain about it. And when their complaining crosses over into making incendiary remarks, stuff that either are or could be construed as threats, especially when it involves high-ranked, officials of the government, or whatever country you live in, or other people, it's like, okay, like, that's gone too far. Not only has it gone too far, but like, it's clear that if you really wanted to solve this issue, or that whatever issue you're talking about, truth is that you would do something like, I don't know, write to your representative in your government, or you would get a petition and go get it signed by as many people as you could, or you would maybe from an organization, a political action committee, or maybe the issue is not per se political. It has some political aspects to it, but let's say it's like the what's one I can think of, a homelessness crisis. Maybe you join an organization or form one that is dedicated to providing food to the homeless, or clothing to the homeless, or building housing, building housing for the homeless, or something of that nature, or petitioning the local government to institute measures that are designed to address homelessness, something like that. You would go and do something like that. You wouldn't just go and, complain and whine and all that kind of stuff and get angry and, yell at the clouds, old man yells at clouds, that sort of thing. You would actually be doing something like that about it, and it's not just, politics or external issues. Like it could be something having to do with your own life, you don't got money, your health ain't that great, where you live you don't like, or whatever the case may be. Like you would figure out, okay, how do I get the money? How do I get the job to get the money? How do I get myself out of debt? How do I get myself into much better shape? How do I fix these health problems, or what have you? How do I do this? How do I do that? And, I'm not saying that just by saying, hey, I want to solve this, I want to make this better, that it's going to get better, I'm not saying that that's the case. Like for me, for instance, issues I'm facing, let me see, being in a ton of debt still. I paid off a significant amount of it, being out of shape, having, let's say some extra fat on my body, getting signs and symptoms that I might be developing some health issues at my age, et cetera, et cetera. There's things like that I definitely want to make efforts on. I have made and am making efforts on. There's no guarantee that all that stuff is going to get fixed or so. There's issues, having to do with relationships and girls and love and all that. And as I've seen in the past, you can make all sorts of efforts you want to, and there are other factors outside your control that, can act to mitigate the effects of your actions and your efforts to improve things, let's just put it that way. Or to, cause a relationship to form, or, for you and some girl to stay together, or, whatever the case may be. Like, there are other factors out there, and so there's no guarantee, but if you really want it to get better, you'll go and make the effort, you'll do the work. That's the cheat code. The cheat code is do the work. But if not, you'll complain. Like I know, I think Rich Cooper said, it's kind of like if you want it bad enough, you'll make results, and if not, you'll make excuses. That sort of a deal. And something I've seen with a lot of people out there, and I've been in this state myself, and I have to be cognizant of and aware of stuff like that, which is why sometimes, there are some, let's say, YouTube channels or sources I do follow for news and politics and all that sort of stuff, and I find that even I have to sort of take a break from that kind of stuff every now and again. I'm not so much of a politics or news or current events junkie that I have to be hearing about that stuff every single friggin' day. And I understand that there are a lot of sort of news sources or commentators out there who in many ways are very much like they're like the red meat types. And in the red pill community, they talk about red meat for the red pill. Like Rollo's done enough. I think he's done. Well, I don't know if what you'd say is enough, but he's done at least 1 or 2 episodes on his own channel talking about red meat for the red pill, and it's it's almost like rage bait type stuff. some sort of like, let's say a story about some guy and his wife, and it's or some guy and his girlfriend, or some situation where it's like, oh, she cheats on him and he finds out, and then he finds out that his kids aren't, his, and he gets divorced and all these other things. It's like one of those stories where it's like, very much like red meat sort of story that's designed to get people riled up and bent out of shape. And see, I told you, bro, like, you can't trust them, or, you know, these, these women, this or that, and people, or wham, and this and that, and people getting, bent out of shape, angry, riled up, that sort of thing. And you'll find the same stuff when it comes to the news, politics, cultural issues, whatnot. And, for most people, I think they get an emotional high off of watching that. And it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. You'll have your red meat source that just, gets you like all fired up about, the opposite side. Oh, they're up to no good. They're, this, that, and the other. They're doing all these horrible things, and oh, you gotta do something about these guys, or whatever the heck, and it's a really good idea to avoid that kind of stuff. You can't 100%, but I guess mitigate as much as possible. Like, that's why, like, I will take breaks from that sort of stuff. And if I'm watching anything on YouTube, I might watch a video about like some dude is going on in the woods or so, camping, hiking, something like that. Or maybe it's some, I'm listening to some scary story written by someone, and they sent it into one of those channels on YouTube, and the guy reads it, and you kind of just sit back and relax. Or, any other sort of content where it's just like, it's not like red meat rage bait type stuff, and some of the other times it's just, me focusing in on these boot camps that I'm taking, where it's actual productive stuff. Like, I complete this Python boot camp, I'll have a decent basis in Python. I'm probably going to have to spend some time beyond that, obviously, maybe taking some other courses, maybe just if I can get in some job somewhere where I'm using that, it's like I'll have to actually apply it, but I'll at least be able to say that I'm familiar with it, and it's the kind of stuff that it can land you a decent paying job. And by decent, I mean like 80, 90K, starting, perhaps even, perhaps in the six figures range, and, if you get one of those jobs and, you wake up and you're making six figures, like, what can you do with life? What is life like? What can you do with life, or your life at that point, I mean, what is your existence like if you go from making, 50K to 100K overnight practically, I mean, there's so much more that you can accomplish and, affect when you're in that kind of a spot. And it's sort of like, and life can become about more than just all these other issues. Like, that's the kind of life I want, and if I go and I guess you could say, don't follow my own advice of avoiding a lot of these red meat sort of, topics and or sources, content, that sort of stuff. It's just the same thing with like PMO, and again, like, I can some of these things I can relate back to Nofap, like, snap my fingers and bam, I can drop an analogy to Nofap, because so much of it is like that. So much of it is like, okay, you could either go and work on XYZ parts of your life, improve your physique, get yourself to being a decent looking guy who doesn't have like a beer belly, so to speak, or a paunch, and has a six pack and has social skills, so he knows how to interact with women such that such that you're not a creep and you don't feel like a creep, and you're not inclined in that way. You're not some creepy predator type guy. You're actually a decent, normal human being who doesn't set off the alarm bells when people are around you because they don't think of you as a threat, because you're not a threat and you're able to interact with people and have a decent life and have a good social circle, have friends, have fun, good, clean fun. And somewhere along there, find some woman, or, if all you're down for is just, getting laid, well, then you can do that sort of thing. Like, instead of doing all that work that would lead you to actual results, okay, you decide, and instead, kind of like going to red meat, rage bait stuff about politics and culture and religion and all that. Okay, you decide you're going to go PMO. Like, it's that same sort of like dynamic there. And, I won't have that experience of life if I go back to that kind of stuff, if I go and do that sort of stuff, and I have to sort of keep my distance, I feel, from folks who are into that sort of stuff, and it's this whole sort of process, this whole that dynamic that I see with this sort of stuff, where it's like, okay, like, if you really want the effects, if you really want the change, if you really want to be making waves and that sort of thing, and having the kind of life you want to have, and solving all these problems you see in the world, like, you have to look at the slog, look at the long-term process, which requires a lot more rationality and logic and long-term thinking and long-term work, and go after that. And it's kind of like, if you pull back sort of the curtain that covers so much of what goes on in the world, like, you really realize that all that rage bait, red meat type stuff, or, if it's PMO, whatever it is, it's all this like huge lie. It's like a charade. It's a charade of, two factions fighting against each other. It's a charade of, oh, this is how relationships and sex are supposed to work. It's a charade of, here's how intergender dynamics is supposed to work. It's this huge lie. And I think coming to grips with the truth of how all this stuff works, it's a lot more difficult than one might think. And I think part of that is like realizing what really matters, what really doesn't matter, and how, like, so many of the things that we spend our lives chasing after and wanting and desiring and lusting after, how, like, worthless those things really are, And I mean, it's kind of like looking past the woman's beauty, or looking past the immediate emotional reaction you have to some bit of news about politics or culture or religion, or, coming to grips with the humdrum nature of most days in your life, that sort of thing. And how in many ways sort of meaningless or worthless it is to be spending your time on stuff that really has no effect or truth or value to it, and I see this in how the world is represented by a plethora of media sources and so on, where it's like, okay, here's what we want you to care about. It's kind of like in a Fight Club, when and I actually it's just like that. I mean, it's kind of ironic that kind of thing pops in my head, and I think about it and go, man, I've heard this before. Where did I hear about this before? Oh, it was, Tyler Durden. Obviously, this guy's alter ego, but he's having sort of an internal conversation with him sitting at that bar, and it's like, murder, crime, poverty, these things don't concern me. What concerns me is, 500 channels of television, some guy's name on my underwear, Rogaine, Viagra, Olestra, that concerns me. They were like a product of a lifestyle obsession. And, that lifestyle obsession could cross over into PMO land, where it's like, being obsessed with like sexual intercourse and getting with some girl and getting laid and getting this, getting that experience, and imagining that like, most guys out there, most women out there are like having, this great sexual life, and, and there you are not having that and being obsessed with that, and then, wasting your time, wasting your sanity chasing after that, or imagining that everybody else out there, every Tom, Dick, and Harry is having some amazing romantic life, and you're the one missing out on it, and you gotta chase after that and obsess with that, and throw whatever you can at that, or political matters, cultural matters, that all this sort of stuff where it's like, if you're lucky, you live 70 to 80, maybe even 90 years, and that's like a speck of dust in the vastness of the universe. If you people may want to debate as to how long existence as we know it has been around, even before civilization, like how long that was. But even if it's something like, let's say, I think the latest scientific estimate is, was it like 8 billion years, something like that, maybe 4.5. It's in the billions. It's like how long is 70 to 80 years? Let's just say 80 years average, give or take, whether you're a man or a woman. Let's just say 80 years. How long is that in the vastness of billions and billions of years, If you think about it in that sort of sense, it's like, okay, so how are you going to spend your time and your effort, your energy, your moment here in this world, that seems to go on forever and ever, but really doesn't. And if you really do care about all these things, politics, culture, religion, finance, economics, health, what have you, what are you going to do in your little speck of time to affect that? And it's a lot longer process. It requires a lot more effort, thinking, maneuvering. It's not just some immediate emotional reaction and unhinged rant and threats and all this kind of craziness, and I think for a lot of us, if we are really truly bent out of shape about the way things are as they currently stand in the world, a lot of it is really just, honestly, just a rude awakening, Like, I'll tell you, like, there are things that I would be talking about, like, let's say a decade ago. And the folks I know who are now getting all bent out of shape about things, it's kind of like, it's gotten to the point where they can't deny the stuff I was telling them about when it came to, whether it came to finances or politics, culture, religion, whatever, And it's sort of like, it's kind of like waking up before it's too late and actually doing the work, and understanding that you really only have so much energy and time to give, and you really need to avoid rage bait type stuff, avoid wasting your time on stuff that doesn't matter, And I think, to me, that's a large part of Nofap, Imagine if you took all the time that you wasted searching for prawn content and engaging in that behavior, and then dealing with the aftermath of it. And you took all that time, and I don't want to imagine all the days, weeks, months, and ultimately years I've wasted because of that. But if you were to take all that time and put that towards something productive that would actually have an actual real effect in your life, I mean, it could be a job making money, it could be working out, it could be a hobby, it could be socializing, gaining real social skills, whatever. Your life would be that much more effective, that much more livable, and you might actually be able to have a deeper understanding of the workings of the world and how to actually affect change, really affect change. I don't mean some sort of psycho crazy, like going down in flames sort of a way. I mean actually, resolving some real issues in the world, making the world a better place to live in. Okay? You think about, like, I don't know, some disease that, takes the lives of so many people. Instead of, like, spending your time being angry about this, that, or the other, getting in a rage about this, that, or the other, maybe going and spend that time, I don't know, tinkering around and inventing some new technology that solves that issue, And you make the world a better place, especially if you could make that an affordable, easily accessible treatment or technology, That's just an example there, I'm just being hypothetical here, but, make the best use of your time. And, people will talk about, like, asceticism. Like I have my, my channel title, Ascesis Catharsis, it's my handle. And ascesis, has the same root as the word asceticism. And, given that I'm talking about stuff about making use of your time and watching out as to what content you take in and things of that nature, it's kind of like practicing mental asceticism, where you control the flow of information into your mind, which affects your mental, emotional state, affects your actions, your thoughts, etc. And it's sort of like that is sort of a necessity. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing with Nofap. That's part of what we're doing with Nofap is mental asceticism, because we see how not establishing control over those, sort of gates into our mind and our mental state and, almost like spiritual state, that how not establishing that kind of strict control affects us and affects our lives. So anyways, that's been a long, in many ways, like, multitudinous, like, rant or ramble. And I don't know if a lot of it made sense. I'm kind of just, like, giving some of my thoughts on recent issues and why I am doing what I'm doing, why I think the way I think, and perhaps sometimes why, like, I dip on out and I don't necessarily, like, post or so, on this channel all the time. But I don't know what else to say. I'm gonna go back and I might go out again and get some more food, but more likely I'm just gonna continue to work on what I've been working on, because that's really like putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak, and actually following my own advice. I don't see much else that I can be doing right now, other than perhaps physical exercise. That would be something that I could do to actually carry through and improve my life, and actually make the effects that I need to make or want to make. Gives me, and carry through with the stuff I've talked in this video. So anyways, that's it for now. So I'll see you folks around. I may go around and, like, look at some other folks, videos, stuff that they posted recently, or leave some comments or so. Because I have seen some of the Nofappers posting some vlogs, and some folks kind of need some support. So anyways, or wanting some support or whatever. But anywho, like I said, I'll see you folks around. Thanks for watching. It's Nofap Day 17, and bye-bye.